One of the greatest saints in the history of India was named Tapaswiji Maharaj. He actually had a kingdom. He had a palace. He was a Maharaja. And his kingdom was being attacked. So he had to go fight a war to defend his kingdom. When he came back from the war, his wife was dead, his brother was dead, and his son was dead. And that plunged him into deep despair. He rode a horse all the way to Delhi, actually, to see the Sultan who ruled that part of God than it is worldly affairs. This was a big surprise to him because he didn't expect to be getting spiritual advice from this Sultan. So he left feeling kind of confused. And he got on his horse and he started riding home. But instead of going back to his palace, he turned the other direction and he rode to Hardwar. When he got to Hardwar, he found a God-realized guru. And he became the disciple of that guru. And for 12 years, he learned from that guru and eventually union. Now, go deep into the Himalayas and do tapas. Really deep, high up in the Himalayas, past Badrinath and Kedarnath and Gangotri, really high up. And he did tapas high in the Himalayas for 40 years. He was so advanced that he could find a cave and he could sit down in the cave, go into samadhi, and sit in samadhi for 2 to 3 years. When he would come out, all of the trees and the... Is it okay to just keep recording? Okay. So, all the trees and bushes would have grown up, right? So, you can read all about this in a book called Tapaswiji Maharaj. It's one of my 5 favorite spiritual books. Now, after 40 years of doing tapas high in the Himalayas, he came down and he was 102 years old. And he was not in great shape. He thought, it's time for me to drop this body. You know, I've used up this body. I should drop the body and go on. Maybe reincarnate, who knows? So, he had one last desire. It was to see the ocean, because he had never seen the ocean. And everyone said, the ocean is so beautiful. It looks like it goes on forever. It's blue, you should go see it. But he had never seen the ocean, so he decided to walk all the way to Burma, to 1,000 miles, and he's 102 years old. He gets to Assam, and there's a temple up on a hill, and he climbs up to the temple, and there's a priest, and the priest says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm going to Burma to see the ocean, and then I'm going to drop the body," right? And the priest says, "Well, that's a good idea. That sounds like a good idea, but I have a suggestion. I have this Kaya Kalpa rejuvenative formula, and it's meant to prolong the lives of saints, and you're obviously a great saint. So I will offer this Kaya Kalpa to you." Well, Tapaswiji had no desires except to see the ocean. And he thought, well, I don't really care about living a longer life. But then he thought, well, maybe it's God's will that this is being offered to me, so maybe I should do it. So he said, okay, I'll do it. The man said, there's only one thing. You have to sit in a dark room for 3 months. Pitch black, no light at all. And the only thing you can eat is the Kaya Kalpa formula. I will bring it to you every morning. It's an herbal paste. You can only eat the Kaya Kalpa and drink fresh cow's milk. Now, sitting in a dark room for him was no problem at all, right? Because he could go into samadhi and 3 months would fly by. So he said, fine, I can do it. So he went into the dark room. He came out 3 months later, rejuvenated back to how he had been when he was 50 years old. All of his wrinkles had gone away. He had lost his teeth before. He grew a 3rd set of teeth. He grew a full head of hair. Before he went into the room, he was an old man with no vitality or flexibility. when he came out after 3 months in the dark room, he had vitality again, he had flexibility again, and he said to the priest, okay, now I'm going to go to Burma. And the priest said, well, I gave you the Kaya Kalpa, now you should give it to me. So he said, okay. So the priest took the Kaya Kalpa. Then something very, very important happened. He was told by Krishna he should go to Bangalore. And he said, but I don't know anyone in Bangalore. And Krishna said, your disciples are waiting for you in Bangalore. So he went to Bangalore. And we had a friend named Satchidananda, my wife and I, who Satchidananda was the son of the patron of Tapaswiji. There was a couple. The man was a high court judge named T.S. Anantamurti. He and his wife were very pious, and if any saint came to Bangalore, they would always go to have darshan of the saint. Okay. They became disciples of Tapaswiji. Tapaswiji asked them to give him one of their sons. I think they had 4 sons and maybe 1 daughter. He said, would you give me one of your sons to train to be my disciple? They gave him 1 son, and that became Satchidananda, and Tara and I were friends up until his death last October. Now, Satchidananda told us that one day the phone rang, and a man was calling from Washington in the United States. And this man said, I just did a dark retreat. And during the dark retreat, your guru appeared in the room. Yeah. And spoke to me in an Indian language. And I said, I don't speak any Indian languages. If you want to converse with me, you have to speak English. And so he switched to English.
And he also didn't know at the time what an Indian guru is. He had no concept. He was completely, there was no devotion or, he was like completely shocked, like an Indian person sitting in his room. He had no clue. His mind was completely smashed.
Yeah. And so this man said to Satchidananda, who had actually administered the Kaya Kalpa to Tapaswiji twice, because Tapaswiji took it 2 more times in his life, and he lived to be 185. So Satchidananda knew the formula, and he knew how to prepare the herbs and give it to someone. So this man from Washington said, your guru appeared in the room that I was doing this dark retreat, and he gave me 2/3 of the ingredients in the Kaya Kalpa, and said if I wanted the last third, I should contact you in Bangalore, and he gave me your phone number.
In the darkness retreat.
In the dark retreat. And this man was given the phone number by Tapaswiji, who had been dead for a very long time. He was not in the body. He was out of the body, and he gave him 2/3 of the ingredients and said, for the final third, call this man. Here's his phone number. And he said, that's why I'm calling you. He began the conversation by saying, what I'm about to tell you may sound unbelievable, but I swear it's totally true. So Satchidananda said, come to Bangalore and I will give you the last third of the ingredients. And he did. He went to Bangalore. Satchidananda gave him the final third. And many of these herbs grow in countries around India, like maybe Bhutan or Nepal or even Thailand maybe. So he had to go on journeys around to collect these herbs, and many of the herbs have to be picked at a certain astrological time, like maybe at a full moon time or a new moon time or something. And so that man would go and collect the herbs and then mail them back to Satchidananda in Bangalore. And then Satchidananda would receive these packages periodically sent by that man. He saved them. The man eventually came back, and then Satchidananda taught him how to prepare the herbs, because they have to be, some have to be boiled for like 24 hours or whatever. And then they made the Kaya Kalpa, and the man rented an apartment in Bangalore, sealed up all the windows to make it a dark retreat, and then he was going to do a 3-month retreat in the darkness, taking the Kaya Kalpa. And he did, and Satchidananda told us that he was rejuvenated, but it wasn't as dramatic as when Tapaswiji did it. Satchidananda told us that you get much more of a result from, beneficial result from taking the Kaya Kalpa if you're also doing sadhana, spiritual practice. If you're not doing spiritual practice, you may get some benefit, but not as dramatically as if you're doing spiritual practice. So that's the story of the man who called on the phone from Washington, who had a great, great, great master appear in the dark retreat.
Extraordinary.
Happy to share.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Ganga, please come and I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
You can come here now.
Okay. I have to step over Renee.
Oh, this is so amazing. And,
You can duck down under the water.
thank you.
Okay.
And actually, now we didn't see each other for how long?
Long time. Many years.
6 years, 7 years, 8 years?
Tara, how many years have we... It's been since we saw... Yeah.
It was after 2010, but
2011.
Maybe 2011.
2011, wow.
It was actually last time when we were here.
Yes.
remember in that those cottages you were here?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this story, I always remembered what you told right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, some people had experiences in darkness where, when we leading the darkness retreat, where the people have like seeing Mother Divine or something or hearing something. But that dramatic, what you were explaining, giving a telephone number.
Yeah, telephone number.
I mean, that didn't happen until now. But I mean, this is a really amazing proof because, also, for the cosmic energy and how souls are connected, and on a past life level, because why that happened exactly to him, even though he had no clue about spirituality and about devotional Indian spirituality, and about what Indian devotion means, because that is such a different complex. And
Satchidananda asked Tara and me to bury 3 canisters of Kaya Kalpa.
We had no idea this was going to happen. We went to, what was it, Rama's birthday.
wow.
And there were a lot of people there and pujas and priests and everything. And we went into his backyard and I think we held the jars and then he buried them.
He's asked us to help bury the canisters. They had to be underground for 41 days.
Wow.
Underground.
So we did.
And he used
Like
them
clay
after that? Or?
No, we didn't take it.
You didn't take it, but he
No.
used it? Or you?
Yeah, I think he may have given it to friends.
Are you still in contact with him?
He died last October. But we were at his ashram just 3 days ago. Every time we take a group on a pilgrimage, we go to Bangalore and we go to certain places around Bangalore, and that ashram is one of the places. And the people on the pilgrimage meditate in the room that Tapaswiji lived in and took the Kaya Kalpa.
Kaya Kalpa is really big secret, and actually I also talked a little bit about that in Germany, and people always say like, oh, where you can buy that,
Right.
and you cannot buy that, I mean, this is a big thing, you cannot go into an Ayurvedic store and say, oh, I like to have some Kaya Kalpa, and can I do it in my darkness retreat? I mean, this is what I was saying, is like a proof of how much devotion it needs, and also the right moment to get it, and the right, even if it's next lifetime, everything we experience experience is building up maybe, but we don't know when the fruit is ripe when it comes to us, right?
Yes, people always ask us if we ever asked Satchidananda for the Kaya Kalpa. And I always say, when I met him the first time, I decided, no doubt, I'm never going to ask him for it. I wanted to be his friend because I knew that for his whole life, people have been pestering him to get it because they want to turn it into a business and make millions of dollars. Because you could make a fortune selling Kaya Kalpa. So I decided I don't want to just be another person who is pestering him. He's probably fed up with that. I just want to be his friend, and I trusted that if it's meant to be, if it's God's will, it will eventually come to me, and I won't have to ask for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Wow, amazing. And who knows when we met and how we meet, and please let's be in touch about that. And maybe once you get to Kaya Kalpa, you drop me an email.
Yeah.
Send me a picture.
Yeah, and maybe you'll help us do a dark retreat.
Yeah, or maybe we end up in the Himalayas doing a dark night retreat and doing all Kaya Kalpa together.
Yeah.
Yes, who knows how life is playing out? We don't know,
Yeah.
But this is really amazing how this turns around, and I always remember this story.
Yes.
And this, I just want to say, that's why I got so chilled. Our flight got delayed, it was cancelled, and anyhow, now we're sitting here, we talk to you, and I just said a few weeks ago to some group, I did an internet seminar, I wish I meet Ganga. He should tell his story 100% again because I was not there. And all of a sudden we are sitting here and you started to talk about that, right? I don't know, I didn't even remember that.
Yeah.
I said that, so this is
It was
amazing.
meant to be.
It was really meant to be.
And it was meant for all of you, for
hear
us
that.
to share it.
Yes, because
Yes.
I just felt, okay, let's share that. And some people might say, this is crazy, we don't believe that. But spirituality is beyond belief system. This is real spirituality. We cannot grab it, right? That's true. It's not for everybody, and we cannot convince anybody, and we don't want to convince, right? Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow.